You never forget where you were when you first heard that the Twin Towers had been hit. The year was 2001. A retired Navy SEAL named John Pike was enjoying some much-needed time off. After 20 years of service, but the day would end up being more eventful than he had hoped for. John had decided to go shopping in Virginia Beach that day, but soon everyone's worst nightmare became a reality. 2 planes had crashed into the World Trade Center towers in New York City. Americans all over the country watched in horror as the attacks unfolded in real time on their television sets. And John was no exception. He stood glued to the TV at the mall just like the rest of the nation. At first, it didn't seem real. John thought it might be another false alarm, just like the many he'd seen during his time in the service. But this time, it was different. Brother-in-law worked in one of the towers, and he couldn't get in touch with him. So he decided he had to do something. John immediately called his wife, who happened to be a flight attendant, and told her not to board the plane. He then called his brother-in-law's wife and told her to get to the hospital. Then he drove home. He knew he had to be with his family, but they needed him for more than he could ever imagine. The next few days were a blur of activity for John. When he got home, he found out that his brother-in-law had survived the attack. He was working on the 96th floor of the South Tower when the North Tower was hit. He started running down the stairs as soon as he heard the commotion and made it all the way to the ground floor before the building collapsed. The reunion between the 2 men and their families was filled with joy and relief. But John knew that the happiness wouldn't last long. Soon enough, it would be his turn to head back to work. He had been retired for 10 months and was unplanning on going back to the military anytime soon. But now he could unsit idly by while his friends and former colleagues headed back to New York to defend the country. He had to join them. He packed his bags that night and flew to New York City. It was there that he learned the truth about what had happened that day. Al-Qaeda terrorists had hijacked 4 planes, crashing 2 of them into the Twin Towers and 1 into the Pentagon. The 4th plane, which was headed to San Francisco, had been diverted to a field in Pennsylvania. After passengers fought back against the hijackers, nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in the attacks, including hundreds of emergency workers who rushed to the scene. In the aftermath of the attacks, the United States went to war in Afghanistan, ousting the Taliban regime which had been harboring the terrorists responsible for the attacks. John served several tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, working tirelessly to protect the American people from further harm. All the while, he never forgot the fallen, especially his brother-in-law, who had lost his life in the attacks. Years passed, and John eventually left the service again. He was now a veteran, but the war continued to take its toll on him. He suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. It was during this time that he began volunteering at the Semper Fi Fund, an organization that provides support to wounded veterans. He also began to travel around the country, speaking to schools and community groups about his experiences in the military. He wanted to share his story so that people would never forget the sacrifices that had been made in the war on terror. John had grown a beard and let his hair grow long, so most people didn't recognize him. It was a good thing because he didn't want the attention. He was happy to live a quiet life away from the cameras. One day in 2017, John decided to visit Ground Zero in New York City. He wanted to pay his respects to the fallen and reflect on his time in the military. He walked through the area, taking in the sights and sounds. It was a beautiful day out, and the city was bustling with activity. John felt at peace. As he walked around, he saw a group of young SEALs paying tribute to the victims of the attacks. They were smartly dressed in their uniforms and stood at attention as they recited the Pledge of Allegiance. John watched them for a moment, feeling a sense of pride and admiration. He had trained many SEALs during his time in the service and knew they were capable of great things. One of the SEALs noticed John watching them and smiled, excused himself from the group, and walked over to John. "Can I help you?" he asked politely. John hesitated for a moment, unsure how to respond. He didn't want to make the young SEAL uncomfortable, but he couldn't help himself. "Do you know why I'm here?" he asked. The young man shook his head. "I'm a veteran," John said quietly. "I was here on 9/11s." The young man's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, really?" he said. "I didn't realize." John smiled. "It's okay," he said. "Most people don't know anymore." They talked for a few minutes about the importance of remembering the fallen and the sacrifices that had been made in the war on terror. John was impressed by the young man's dedication to the service and his commitment to honoring those who had died. As their conversation came to an end, John reached out and placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Thank you for your service," he said. "And never forget why we do what we do." The young man nodded his head solemnly. "I won't, sir," he replied. Just then, the other SEALs finished reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and they all turned to face John. "Sir," one of them said, "we would like to present you with this." He held out a folded American flag to John. John was taken aback by the gesture, and he accepted the flag with a trembling hand. "Q," he said. "This means a lot." The young SEAL stood at attention as John unfolded the flag and tied it around his neck. He looked at them proudly and knew that the future of the service was in good hands. From that day forward, John carried the flag with him everywhere he went. It was a reminder of the sacrifices that had been made and the service members who had given their lives so that America could remain free. Whenever he saw a group of SEALs, he knew that they were carrying on the legacy of those who had fallen. He was proud to be a part of that brotherhood. John's story is a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the men and women who serve in the United States military. He is a true American hero who risked his life to protect the country he loved. His story also reminds us of the importance of honoring those who have died in the line of duty and supporting their families. The young SEALs recognized John's service and wanted to show him respect for his dedication to the country. Their actions are a shining example of the values and traditions of the United States military. If you're a veteran or are currently serving in the United States military, please leave a comment below to thank John for his service. If you've ever met a veteran, please leave a comment below to thank them for their service. Let us all take a moment to remember and honor the sacrifices that John and other veterans have made to keep our country safe. Thank you to John and all veterans for your service and sacrifice. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to watch our other videos about amazing veterans. We have a channel full of videos about veterans and their amazing stories. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment below if you enjoy the video. We appreciate your support.